Hello, my name is Anita and I am a 4-H member in Dakota County and also a Minnesota 4-H State Ambassador. And today I'll be demonstrating the Let's Not Get Wet experiment, so let's get started. So in this experiment, you'll need to test out the waterproofing materials in your kit to see how well they'll keep the sponge dry. And if you don't have a sponge, that's okay, you can totally use a washcloth as well. In your provided kit, you'll find a plastic grocery bag, a sheet of aluminum foil, wax paper, paper lunch bags, and I didn't have one so I cut it out of a Target paper bag, 2 rubber bands, and twist ties. And if you have any other items at home, feel free to use them in this experiment as well. So to start off, I'll be filling my bowl with a decent amount of water, and then I'll be testing out each material to see how well they'll keep the sponge dry. So as I'm looking at my materials, I think I'll start with the aluminum foil first, which is this piece right here. I'm going to predict that the foil will keep the sponge dry because it's a durable piece of material. So as you look at each material, think about what do I know or think I know about this material. So first I'll wrap the foil around my sponge and make sure that I seal it up pretty well so none of the water goes through. And then you get to decide what your test is for each material. A fair test means that you test each thing for the same amount of time in the same way. So you might decide that your test will be for 5 seconds or for 10 seconds. But for this demonstration, I decided to test materials for 5 seconds. So I'm going to make sure that all the openings are sealed and tight. Alright, that looks good. And then I'm going to submerge this for 5 seconds. I'm going to count down to 5. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then make sure you shake all that water off and then unwrap the foil. I can tell that some of the water is still on the foil, so I know some of my openings aren't fully sealed. And then as I'm wringing out the sponge, some water is coming out. So my prediction is wrong, and my sponge came out wet. And I'll be sure to write my observations down in my science journal page so I won't have to forget all this information later. And then I'll repeat the same process by using the rest of the materials, but I'll make sure that for every test, I'll submerge it for the same amount of time, like how I did with this one where I submerged it for 5 seconds. And then as we are also thinking about the properties of materials, we're also thinking about that as well. So if they're waterproof or absorbent, well, waterproof means that the water can't get through it, while absorbent means that it can soak up water or other liquids. Can you think of something that is absorbent? Yes, I bet you thought of things like paper towels, a washcloth, or even fabric like our t-shirts. By looking at my other materials, I think I'll be using the wax paper and the rubber bands next. And I don't think wax paper is going to hold that well, so I'll use the rubber bands to keep them in place. And since wax paper has non-stick properties, I think the water will just be able to glide right through it. So once I try out this material, I'll put it underneath the water for about 5 seconds, which is the same time that I did for the last demonstration. And I'll use my senses to see if it stayed waterproof. And then for my last example, I'll be using up the rest of my materials, which is, well, the paper bag and the twist ties. And once again, I'll test out my material by submerging it underneath the water for the same amount of time, and then using my senses to see if it stayed waterproof. And that's pretty much it for the first part of the experiment. You know, you are the engineer for your experiment, so you get to decide how to test out each material and see how waterproof it is. Next, I challenge you to use what you learned in the first part of the experiment to create a better waterproofing system for your toy of choice. So you use the data from the sponge test, creativity, and your choice of materials to build the design. So I'll do a little demonstration to help you get started. So I'm going to use this little teddy bear, but you may have a different toy at your house. You can use like a Lego or a doll. It's really up to you, whatever you find at your house. And it's okay if you don't have a toy, you can definitely use a washcloth for this experiment. So as I'm deciding how to keep my toy dry, I'm thinking that this plastic bag right here is a little bit waterproof, but I may need a way to close openings a little bit better so the water wouldn't go through. So I'm thinking maybe these rubber bands will help. I'll test my prediction by wrapping it around my toy and repeating the same steps as I demonstrated earlier. And then I'll just observe it and see if it came out to be waterproof. Be sure to talk about what you'll do with each of the materials and record your observations in your science journal. Remember, you'll be sharing these at the Superhero League gathering, so please have fun with this. Go out there, be creative, have some fun. Alright, I wish you the best of luck, and, well, this is Anita, and I hope you have an excellent day. Bye!